ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। भूतैर्महद्भिर्यैमा पुरो विभु निर्मायश्येते यदमुषु पुरुषा भूते गुणान् षोडश षोडशात्मका सोऽलङ्कृशिष्ट भगवान् वचांसि मे। श्रीकृष्ण शरणं शरणागतं कथामृतं सततपीबतं भक्तिवेदान्तमार्गपन्थनं सर्वलोकऋषिदेव जन्मप्रसन्नं सर्वलोकऋषिदेव जन्मप्रसन्नम्। Hare Krishna, dear Prabhus and Matajis. Welcome to our morning Bhagavatam study session. So we're continuing with Srīmad Bhāgavatam, first canto creation, 13th chapter, Dhṛtarāṣṭra quits home. And in these verses that Mahatma Vidura, Dhṛtarāṣṭra's younger brother, he's speaking, these verses should imbibe in our hearts a feeling of vairagya, detachment, because detachment is one of the byproducts of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhakti. In Padma Puran, it is mentioned that Gyan and Vairagya are the two sons of Bhakti. But in Kali Yuga, Bhakti Devi, Jnana, knowledge, Vairagya, detachment, they all become old and they all become invalid. In effect, in our lives, in persons of Kali Yuga, completely Bhakti is absent, Jnana is absent, and detachment from material association is absent. When these three are absent, then the living entity has no hope. Again and again, the living entity will be smashed by the forces of illusion, and again, they will undergo the cycle of repeated birth, death, old age, and disease, and they will not know what is happiness, what is real happiness. They will only know miseries. But one of the effects of Srimad Bhagavatam is that as soon as one does oral reception, Srushusho Shraddhadanasya, that with faith one hears Krishna Katha, Krishna Paramapurushe, then the effect is immediately the knowledge is lightened. And in that lightened knowledge, vairagya, detachment, comes about. And bhakti, love for Krishna in our hearts, tata bhakti utpadyeta, immediately sprouts. And when bhakti sprouts, then there is no room for shoka, lamentation, moha, illusion or delusion, and bhaya, fear. So here in these verses, we see that Dhritarashtra has been overcome by fear. What is the reason for fear? The undue attachment, even in old age, attachment to sense gratification. Shankaracharya very nicely says that angam mangalitam, the angam, the flesh, the body has galitam, melted away. Nothing remains except for skin and bones. Palitam mundam, all the hair have either fallen down or turned white. Dashyan vihinam jatam tundam. The teeth have fallen. The person cannot speak properly. What to speak of chewing food. Nonetheless, vriddhoyati grihitva dandam. Tadpinamunchati ashapindam. Vriddho yati grihitva dandam. Still with the hope of the stick, the dundum of enjoying, still the desire for sense gratification remains. Some people say that once we indulge in sense gratification, after that we'll take to devotional service, we'll be satisfied. However, this concept is thoroughly defeated by the scriptures and also by experience. Once Akbar and Birbal, they were arguing on this point. Akbar was saying that if we satisfy our senses, then we can take to religious life nicely in our old age. Birbal said, no, there's no satiation in sense gratification. A person will want more and more and more. In old age also, even though the body is incapable. And in these verses, we see how Vidura is saying to Dhṛtarāṣṭra, you have been blind from birth and recently you have become hard of hearing. Your memory is shortened and your intelligence is disturbed. Your teeth are loose, your liver is defective, and you are coughing up mucus. Our digestive system gives up. Nonetheless, the desire to have palatable food does not go away. So the body has become incapable and body will become incapable. Bhautikanam cha bhavanam, everything material will deteriorate. There is no two ways about it. Tad pinnamunjati asha pindam, but still the desires, the asha, the hope does not leave us that we'll be able to enjoy. So Birbal said to Akbar, okay, let me demonstrate this point. So along with Akbar and Akbar's young daughter, he entered an old person's house who was on his deathbed. As soon as Akbar, Birbal, and the young daughter entered, the old person saw, and he immediately folded his hands towards Akbar. But his eyes became wide and was staring at Akbar's young daughter. In the previous verse, in the paper, Srila Prabhupada very nicely explains that how even in old age, people take hope of medicines to become young again, to look young again, to increase their potency, and so and so. But all this is futile. How long can we go on in sense gratification? And the most important point is that sense gratification will never satisfy us. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains, Duspurena anulena cha. In the fire, when you put ghee, then the fire will go even greater. So, when we indulge in sense gratification, we are planting a seed of further proclivity for sense gratification. And there is no satiation. We think, okay, only once I'll do this and I'll be satisfied. No, it will never happen. There is completely no correlation. Actually, the correlation is there, but it is negatively correlated, meaning that the more sense gratification we'll indulge in, the opposite will go in our spiritual life, meaning our downfall will definitely be there. So we were discussing text number 24. The translation of this text is, there is no need to live a degraded life and subsist on the charity of those whom you have tried to kill by arson and poisoning. You also insulted one of their wives and usurped their kingdom and wealth. Text 25. Despite your unwillingness to die and your desire to live, even at the cost of honor and prestige, your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment. This is an embarrassing situation, an undignified way for any person. In our old age, there has to be dignity. If we are not surrendered unto Krishna, then the result will be we will be unhappy, and everyone around us, we will make them unhappy and miserable by our constant nagging of our children, our daughter-in-laws, our grandchildren, and so forth. But a devotee in his old age has taken shelter of Krishna, and therefore the devotee is fully satisfied. Um, Continuing with the purport, Vidura is trying to open his eyes to see that he cannot live more than his term and that he must prepare for death. Since death is inevitable, why should he accept such a humiliating position for living? It is better to take the right path even at the risk of death. Human life is meant for finishing all kinds of miseries of material existence, and life should be regulated that one can achieve the desired goal. In Srimad Bhāgavatam, it is very nicely mentioned that Gramya Dharma Nivrittischa. Gramya Dharma means the pseudo religiosity of common man. Gramya Dharma is based around eating and sex life. These two are the central points. Nivrittischa, one should actually become free from these two things. And moksha dharma ratihi sada, one should always be enthusiastic towards gaining liberation, moksha dharma, from cycle of birth and death, ratihi sada. One should be always attached, attracted to that. And further on, in order to do these two things, it is said, Mita Medya Dhanam Shashvat. Mita Medya Dhanam Shashvat means that one should eat very fragilely. Excessive eating is not conducive for devotional service. Now, one may say sleeping more than 8 hours is the need and the requirement of the body. Eating 3, 4, 5 times a day is the need and requirement of the body. Indulgence in sense gratification, in sensual activity is the need of the body, and so forth and forth. However, this need is only there because we are indulging in it and pouring ghee into the fire. However, as soon as we take shelter of Krishna, then the bodily necessities, they diminish to the point of almost being negligible. This is called Piyusha Niryapita Deha Dharma. Deha Dharma is what? That we need eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. However, one who engages in discussion of Krishna's pastimes in the assembly of devotees, one who has taken shelter of Krishna's lotus feet, which are like an umbrella, it is very nicely explained. Yulokam shalokan nugatam pasumsha. This sense gratification is the animalistic way of the material world. Hetva, the devotee gives it up. And what does it do? Shritaste charanata patram. It takes shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna, which is like an umbrella which protects from the cycle of the scorching heat and cold of birth, death, old age, disease. How does he do that? Parasparam tvad gunavad sidhu. Amongst devotees, he discusses the qualities of Krishna, the words of Krishna as given in Bhagavad Gita. And this, for such a person, becomes like a sidhu, intoxicating nectar. And this intoxicating nectar of Krishna Nam and Krishna Katha, Piyusha Niryapita. Niryapita means it extinguishes. What does it extinguish? Deha Dharma. It extinguishes the bodily necessities, the bodily requirements that we previously thought this is a requirement. We cannot live without it. I cannot sleep less than 10 hours. I cannot sleep less than 8 hours. No, this is just a figmentation, just imagination of our minds, the restriction we put on ourselves. Why? because we are attached to sense gratification. However, when we take to the lotus feet of Krishna, take shelter at lotus feet of Krishna, then these bodily necessity declines. Our conscious doesn't become body conscious, it becomes spiritually conscious, it becomes Krishna conscious, and therefore it is possible. And before death comes, before old age comes, or even in old age, one should take shelter of Krishna exclusively and reduce these bodily requirements. Otherwise, old age will be very miserable. Because if we die naturally, old age will have to live through. And most of us will have to live through the old age. Of course, death may come at any time. There is no time limit to death. But if we don't take to the process of Krishna consciousness, then what will happen is that our bodily requirement will be high, but the body's ability to engage in those activities of eating, mating, sleeping, and defending will diminish. And therefore, it's an incompatible situation. The ability to do sense gratification has completely been reduced, but the desire has remained and increased. And in this condition, the old person is most miserable, and he's like a dog relying on other people to be maintained and sustained. There is no dignity in such life, and there is no respect in such a life. And what happens to such a person? He is overtaken by fear. Overtaken by fear. In our Guru Maharaj, made us learn this nice verse. This verse is given by the great Indian philosopher. His name was Dhṛtarāṣṭra, and he explains 9 types of fear. And what are these 9 types of fear? Bhoge roga bhayam. First, the fear of disease in enjoyment. When we engage in excessive sense gratification, sensual activities, or excessive eating, then roga, the body becomes grasta, consumed by disease. We think that actually we are doing the bhoga, we are enjoying it, but we are not enjoying it. Those bhogas are consuming us. Again, there is a nice verse, bhogana bhuktva vayameva bhuktva. It means bhogana bhuktva, we actually are not enjoying the bhoga. Then what is happening? Vayameva bhukta. The bhoga is consuming us, is devouring us. Tapona tapta vayamema tapta. What does it mean? That we do not do austerities, but we are scorched by fire of misery constantly. If voluntarily we do tapasya, austerity, restraining sense gratification, then we will be all right. However, instead, we are burning by the fire of sense gratification. Kalo nayata vayame vayata. We think that we are passing away time. Kale nayata. But we don't know vayame vayata, that the time is forcefully passing us. As Vidura says, that Griheshu Saktanam, Evam Griheshu Saktanam, Pramattanam Yadihaya Atyakramat. Its force is very great, Avignataha, and the person does not know. Kala Parama Dustaraha. The time surpasses the person. The time is constantly chasing us. In Gajendra Moksha prayer, this nice verse is explained by Shukadev Goswami, that Krishna's force in terms of time is prachanda. Prachanda means very forceful. No one can overcome time. Time actually destroys everything. And prachanda vegad avidhavato hi bhrisham. And the time is chasing us every moment. We cannot kill time. The time is killing us. Kalo nayata vayame vayata. Similarly, Trishna na jirna vayame na jirna. The thirst for our greed is never quenched. But in the process, we wither away into oblivion. There is no meaning to our Trishna. Trishna means that we are enjoying it, yes, but we want more and more and more and more. And in the process, Trishna na jirna, we are not able to sustain or quench our thirst, but vayameva jirna, that desires actually wither us away into oblivion. So, bhoga roga bhayam, one who is indulging in sense gratification is bound to be subjected to disease. Kulechyuti bhayam, when the children are there, then it's a problem. When children are not there, then it's a problem. Who will carry on the lineage? And when children are there, they fear that the children will go. Vitte nipalayat bhayam. The third kind of fear is if wealth is there, then there is fear of the government taking it away, or relatives plundering it, someone taking it away. Fourth kind of fear, mane dainya bhayam, that one who has earned honor, there is fear of humiliation. Without devotional service, honor has no meaning, because the person's character at some point in time will fail him. Some point in time, the person's character will be compromised. Therefore, this fear of humiliation for one who, is proud of his good character. Bale repu bhayam, for one who is strong, there is fear that some enemy may destroy me. Rupe jaraya bhayam, one who is very beautiful, then their fear is what? Old age. In old age, the hairs will turn gray, fall down, or wrinkles will appear. The whole cosmetic industry is making millions and trillions of dollars because of this fear of old age. You apply this cosmetic cream, and it will wipe 10 years of your looks of your life. You'll appear younger. You may end up appearing younger. I don't know. I've never tried these kind of things. But will you feel younger, or will that stop death? Will that stop the age of getting old? No. So the Vanyas, they exploit all this fear, and they further entangled us into how we can counteract these things. But these things cannot be counteracted. Shastre vadi bhayam. Even one who has got knowledge of scriptures, he is fearful that some other person may speak nicer than me, quote more verses than me, or even defeat my arguments. Gune khala bhayam. A person who is of good character, their fear is, oh, what if someone defames me? And at the end, kaye kritantanad bhayam. When we are bodily conscious, then we are consumed by the fear of death. Fear of death is the ultimate kind of fear. However, sarvam vastu bhayanvitam bhuvininam vairagyam eva bhayam. But when all these 9 things which cause fear, bhuvininam, for persons on this earth, when they become vairagyam, when they become detached from sense gratification, detached from the bodily concept of life, then they certainly eva abhayam, they can attain fearlessness. Brahmaji very nicely in 3rd Canto, 9th chapter, 3rd verse says, Tavad bhayam dravinadeha sruhun nimittam sukha spruha paribhavo vipulascha lobha yavan mameti asadavagraharti moolam yavan natengrim abhayam pravanita loka. So this tavad bhayam, it comes from, Bhagavatam says, these sources, dravina, wealth, lack of wealth or having more than enough wealth. The bhayam comes from deha, the bodily abilities are diminishing. Sruhun nimittam, the fear comes from relatives. We are always fearful what will happen to our children. And this causes us shoka, lamentation. And it gives us a desire, spruha in our hearts. Yes, we want to conquer everything. We want to have perfect thing for everyone. We want to become like Dhṛtarāṣṭras. In Srīmad Bhāgavatam, there's another verse, Shukdev Goswami says, I think it's the 2nd or 4th verse of the 2nd Canto, 1st chapter. We are, he says, like fallible soldiers. Deha, this body is there, apatya, a wife is there, and in relation to wife, the children, the house, kalatradishu, deha, apatya, the children, kalatra, wife, adishu, the house, the cars, and so forth, bank balance. And we think what? Atma sanyeshu asatsu api, that we are Atma Sanyeshu. Sanyeshu means soldiers. We can protect everything. What to speak of protecting these other things? They have our own body we cannot protect. But we think Atma Sanyeshu. And this thinking, Bhagavatam says, is asatsva. It can never happen. It is temporary, asatsva api. And the person becomes so mad. Like Dhṛtarāṣṭra here is so mad. The very person who killed all his children is eating food made from their hands. And like a dog is remaining in the palace, just eating and trying to enjoy, trying to be comfortable. Completely oblivion of the fact that death is just at the doorstep. This is called Tesham Pramatta Nidhanam. He is Pramatta. Why? Because of his nidhan. Nidhan means his death. Death will come. Death is at the doorstep. But still, he can see. Pashyan, apina pashyati, but he chooses not to see. And therefore, he is pramatta, mad. Deha patya kalatradeshu atma sanyeshu asatswapi. He thinks he is atma sanyeshu. He can protect everything. But he is mad. Why? Because despite Pashyan seeing, he cannot see Nidhanam, his own demise. Pashyan apina pashyati. This is madness to the highest degree. What is the solution? What is the solution? The solution, firstly, is to accept that sense gratification will not satisfy me. Sense gratification will destroy me. Kadam Kanan Maharaj, I was looking at my diary yesterday, and in one of the classes he spoke a poem, that I don't know whether he wrote or he got it from somewhere. But in that poem, he says, these old hungry eyes have told many lies. These old hungry eyes have told many lies. But maybe this one time I may be satisfied. But this is a lie, because we will never be able to be satisfied through sense gratification. And in our old age, the eyes are popping out, but still we have hope. No, this one time I'll be satisfied. But it will never happen. This one thing we have to accept, that sense gratification will only result in misery and fear. Tavat bhayam dravinate hasruhun nimittam soka spruha paribhavo vipulascha lobha. And what is the root cause of this? The root cause of this, Brahmaji says, is tavan mameti asadavagraha arti moolam. Arti means misery, moolam means the root. And the root of this is what? Tavan mama iti. That we think me and mine. Everything is centering only around us, me and mine. This is Dhṛtarāṣṭra mentality. My palace, my food, my children, my house, my body, my wife. This is asad. And therefore, avagraha arti moolam. It will result in misery. And when will this misery be completely mitigated or eliminated? Bhāgavatam says, Yavannatengrim abhayam pravanita lokha, until and unless we surrender onto the angrim, onto the lotus feet of Krishna. Because only at lotus feet of Krishna, abhayam, we can get fearlessness. And lotus feet of Krishna can only be attained by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, and doing satsang and daily hitting our heads with these nice instructions given by Srila Prabhupada and our spiritual masters and various sages in line of devotional service. Thank you so much, Prabhus and Matajis. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Thank you so much. Jai. Granthraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada.
Hare
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Have a wonderful Krishna conscious
Hare
day.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.